on zurück bei Fast Forward with Charlotte Roche, Adam Clayton, and The Edge from U2. And it's U2 Day today on our channel. We're not allowed to forget. And the main reason, of course, is why I'm here, is that you're releasing a new album called All That You Can't Leave Behind. What would you say are the things you can't leave behind?
I think whenever you think of that question, you start thinking in a different way than you would normally, and I think it's the essential things, the things that mean the most to you, bottom line, and not necessarily the things that you get preoccupied with. So
like
for us,
work.
well, there's a lot of things about U2 that we've sort of thought about, and where we've come back to on this record is what got us excited about being in a band in the first place, and our success has afforded us a lot of wonderful opportunities, but in the end, why we are still doing this is because we still love playing music and writing music and performing together. And I guess that's what this record is about.
And one question, do you still get as excited when you release a new album? Is it still exactly the same with like the first albums?
I think it's still exciting. I mean, it's exciting to release any record after your first record. You know, it's like everyone's special. So yeah, it's always great to have completed it and know that people are still interested in kind of when it comes out and listening to it.
And I read this amazing number. A music journalist, I think it was the Rolling Stone, was allowed to come into your studio, I don't know, and he said you had sort of roughly about 100 songs you started and then kicked off again. And how difficult is it to kick off songs and sort of decide altogether that song is crap and that song is good?
Sometimes it's very easy, you have to be honest.
Really?
Sometimes it's very easy, and then sometimes it really gets hard. If you've got a piece of music that's very special, but you know deep in your heart that it's not right for that record that you're working on, then that's tough.
When you have to admit it.
Yeah, when you go, okay, it's great, but it's not right.
Yeah.
And so we did that with a few songs.
Yeah.
I have to say we didn't finish 100 songs, you know.
No, of course, you started them.
We had 100 ideas. Some of them were literally like 3 bars of something that we were interested in.
Yeah, but Bono just said that you're the collector, that everybody else could sort of look in the past what little bits they have. You know, you sort of collect them. Is that true?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I'm the guy with the suitcase full of CDs of all of our demos and mixes.
Wow.
A great idea of whether it's a great drum beat or a great bass part or a great set of chords, it never stops being great, and you can always get back to it at some point and work on it again and develop it. So every one of those little ideas is a potential U2 song, so I just hold on to them all, and it's incredible how they end up, maybe years after they were first thought of, they end up becoming part of a U2 song, so it's always worth hanging on to them.
And the songs that are on the album now, is there any song that one of you especially had to fight for? Or is it always something like a democratic vote that the songs come onto the album?
I think people do start to become attached to songs on a personal level, but in the end, the final decision is always a group decision.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything.
Stuck in a Moment, I think you.
Which is my favourite song, by the way.
Yeah, it took a while.
That was in and out a few times.
It came in and out of favour, and it's I suppose I had to fight for that one. There's a couple of others like Walk On as well went through periods where it really wasn't in favour, and we did a completely different version, which Brian, Eno, and Danny were particularly important in sort of helping us get to this other version, and it was really special. But in the end, it wasn't part of the record. It wasn't part of what this album was about. So very late in the day, we kind of reworked that song in a more U2 style. That kind of thing happens a lot, where you got a great piece of music, but something is not quite gelling, and you have to go back and play it again, or try it at a different tempo or something. And,
Yeah.
that's all part of just getting it right.
Yeah, and sort of really wanting to get it right in the end is really difficult. And I always wonder, if as a band say, okay, we want to make an album, and obviously we want it to be something really special, and we want to work lots for it. Do you sort of want to create a special atmosphere for every album? Do you? Lots of bands sort of say the studio where we're recording has to be in France, or it has to smell like so and so. You know, do you create some sort of atmosphere for an album, or do you say it doesn't matter where you are, what you do, it's just the music that has to come out?
Sandalwood and tobacco. That's really
That's
what
a good
we
starting point.
Yeah.
I think wherever we happen to be when we're making a record definitely influences our work. And for instance, making Av Acting Baby, I think a lot of the sounds and textures of that record were influenced by our time in Berlin.
Yeah.
And you could say that this record was very much influenced, I think, by being in Dublin.
Yeah.
We haven't done that for a while, where we've pretty much exclusively worked on an album in Dublin. Even on the pop album, we did some time in Miami.
Yeah.
So I think that probably made us a little bit more introverted in our view as we were making the record, which is why it's so personal. I think that it's probably our most personal record, probably ever, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe after our first record.
Yeah, well, but because that's what I always think, that like something like a town or even the season when you're recording must have so much influence on your mood.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it does.
And you sometimes play with that, you know, you you get a feeling of maybe this music needs the influence of this place, and you go there and you often use that to sort of help the process.
Yeah. We'll see each other in a few minutes. The U2 Day. Und zurück bei Fast Forward mit Adam Clayton and The Edge from U2. Yeah. So this time you recorded again together with the two producers, Brian Eno and, how do you pronounce his name? Daniel Lanois?
Lanois.
Lanois, okay. And how would you describe their two different works on the album?
Well, there's such different personalities. I mean, let's start there. I mean, Brian is this incredibly intellectual character with incredible focus and yet this real naive appreciation of music.
Yeah.
He's like an adolescent when it comes to music. He appreciates it in a very deep way.
Yeah, he gets really excited.
Yeah, and he doesn't analyze it too much. He just, it either reaches him or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And Danny is a much more earthy character altogether, much more emotional. He's Latin. I mean, he's French-Canadian, so he's got that kind of fire, personality-wise. But he's much more about the feel and the interaction of the musicians and the kind of the warmth of the experience of the music.
Yeah.
And I mean, when they're working together, they bring such different and such important kind of talents and skills to the project that it's great. It really is wonderful to have two sets of such sort of well-informed and strong opinions that are from different perspectives. It really helps us in our process to get through decisions and to kind of test what we're doing.
Yeah.
And really, it's the quality of their arguments that really makes them so special to us.
Yeah.
It's not that they think we're wonderful or.
So